Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show Tournament Edition, breaking down the Sims, the most important, valuable show of the week. At least I believe so. We'll have Saturday content. What are we doing, Greg, for just so the people, let me fix this real quick. Just so the people here know, we're not doing Saturday for this one because it's only two games, but we will have Saturday content. This is just Sunday because a lot of people will watch this Friday night, Saturday night, even Sunday morning. We still want to give you guys everything we can for the big 11 game slate.
Yeah, so tomorrow afternoon, live before lock, I'm doing it with Matt Bellman for football, and then we got the NBA show at night. But yeah, not like extensive strategy shows or anything for the 2 game Saturday slate, but live before lock tomorrow if you guys want to tune in for that and are looking for updated projections, data, information, all that, we'll be covering it on the show.
So Eric Ronas in chat said, what WTF was that slate last night? Madden simulator names getting all the touchdowns. Yeah, that was truly absurd. Greg and I hang out after the Thursday shows, and we usually talk for a while. I know we talked probably till like 10 o'clock last night or something. And every time I looked down, it was a straight creative player, man. You know, Burton getting into the ends. There was another guy, Greg, that I actually haven't heard of before that was catching passes. There was one player that I didn't know who he was. And all I do is football. The one guy's like, I'm not familiar with that guy. I somehow only lost a little bit on that slate. I thought I was going to zero out.
It was because the guy, well, first off, like Gus Edwards had a pretty good game, but he did so little outside the touchdowns that you needed him to come in first place, but it's not like he made or broke the slate. The kickers were really good. I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I think I had it was like a 10 or 15% loss. It wasn't anything,
which was a
crazy.
Big win.
But it was, like the quarterbacks both had good fantasy games. We were high on them. We ended up getting good games out of the kickers, and that was the core of our lineups. And we had Ladd McConkey had a decent game.
He was fine, yeah.
But yeah, to your point, like I'm trying to figure out who it is that was catching passes that you hadn't heard of before, because it really could have been a handful of guys.
Hold on, we'll get into this. But by the way, if you don't mind, guys, take a single second heading into the weekend. Atone for your sins this morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. We love listening or looking at the comments and everything and responding to them. It's a good time. Let us know where you're going this week. But more than anything, it's totally free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and it helps us feed the algorithm. So we're greatly appreciative for all of that. Where is he?
Can I guess? Because there's a few guys I think it could possibly be.
Sure.
Is it Scott Matlock?
Scott Matlock, dude. Yeah, I know nothing about Scott Matlock.
Scott Matlock. There was Blake Watson. I mean,
those were the two that I was like, oh, yeah.
There's like 8 Blake Watson. So there were 3 guys yesterday.
Blake Watson played 1 snap all season. It was in week 5. I had what?
So there was some players who caught passes last night. Blake Watson, Nate Atkins caught 2 passes.
Yeah, obviously we know of Nate Atkins because him and Kroll and Troutman were in there, that rotation.
But also, how many catches did he have for the? Actually, he has 10 catches for the season. All right, so he had 8 going into yesterday. There was Scott Matlock, who I thought was a TV character from the 80s. So there were some real bizarro characters that ended up being out on the field. But kickers came through for us. That was the key to my lineups, to not getting totally crushed.
Well, we talked about that a lot yesterday, right? Like this could just end up being a kicker game, and a lot of them are. That helped me a ton. No doubt. You're right. No doubt about it. Because I was super underweight on Edwards. If the more I think about it, if I was just overweight on Edwards, I probably have an amazing night.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's like, what, are you going to be overweight to all the other running backs who average 3 yards per carry?
I'm not saying I ever would have gotten there. What I'm saying is, at the beginning of the day, it looked like I had 0 of the pieces. And then at the end of the night, it was like, I probably needed Gus Edwards. Anyway, yes, some true creative players. Let's dive into this one. Really fun 11-game slate. Some expensive quarterbacks, also some dirt cheap ones that we'll talk about. Bob Isaac said, question about the Sims. Are they phone friendly or do you need a PC? For the single lineup Sim, it is optimized for mobile. Perfect. The regular Sims, we haven't really taken a ton of time to optimize it for mobile because you don't want to really use the sims that we're using today from mobile, like the entry manager and uploading line, like all of that stuff, so much of this and all of the rows and the data, even if it was optimized for mobile, I don't think you'd even want to use it there, Greg.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Like, it would be really hard to do ROI boost. It's hard to use DraftKings and upload CSVs to DraftKings,
Exactly.
even beyond just the use of our tools. So the answer is you could use it, but it wouldn't be the best experience if we're being honest.
How do you I've never even tried to upload a CSV to DraftKings from mobile.
I've done it before when I've been out at dinner and stuff like that. I'd use the DraftKings desktop version for my phone. It's clunky though. It's not the best.
I used to love using the desktop version from my phone, but every time I go there, it gives me like a mobile version on my phone now. Yeah, sucks. Anyway, glad you guys could join us. Let's dive into it the way we always do. Look, this show, the importance of this, at least I think, because it helps me out a lot, is kind of understanding where we're going with a slate like this. What do the builds look like? What do the stacks look like? What does the flex look like? How many of these 2 tight end type spots are we getting to? And for what it's worth, I'm looking, yeah, there's some 2 tight end, but not as much. Usually on slates, you get a lot of that early on. Not seeing a ton. I see a naked Anthony Richardson lineup that's top 3. I'm excited to look into this one, Greg, for sure.
Yeah, it's also, this is going to be something kind of interesting because when you look at the stacks, a QB plus 0 isn't really a stack. So that's not going to show up on that screen. But there's a good amount of top lineups that I saw when I was playing around with the Sims this morning that are naked Anthony Richardson lineups. There are a good amount of them, my top 150.
Jacob, just, out of the gate, let me try something here. Can you go to lineups to filter by those lineups and see what Josh Allen looks? Because I was talking to Ben about it on Tuesday. It's like, if we play Josh Allen, do we just go naked Josh Allen?
I mean, it's one way that you could go about doing it, but man, $8,700, you're really banking on multiple rushing touchdowns if you're playing him naked. You really need multiple rushing touchdowns, which is certainly
filter by possible. No, hold on. No, Jacob. Filter by RO. You got it because you got it sorted the wrong way. Filter by ROI. There you go. And then okay, look, there are some. Look at that. They don't look great, but 43% ROI, 25%. There are a couple of them. Everything else aside from one looks like a QB plus 1. To me, that just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's hard for me, I think, to get to Josh Allen this week for a couple of reasons. Most notably, the price point at $8,700. It's a really, really steep price tag to pay for him. There's also a matchup here against the New England Patriots where if they're up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, do they even want Josh Allen to be running the football? I don't know that that's going to be the case. And then you've also got a lot of other quarterbacks who are cheap that are in good spots, like Anthony Richardson. Just hit on him before. You got Michael Penix as a potential value option. Penix is half the price of Josh Allen. I very, very much doubt that I'm going to play many Josh Allen lineups.
All right, let's clear those out. If Josh Allen ends up not being popular, I think I would have some interest there. I also think the Patriots can be sneaky in a game like this. Not win it, but, Bills coming off a clear statement win, now traveling back home, 14.5-point divisional favorites. Those spots are always intriguing to me. Where do you want to go from here? You want to look at some more lineups, or do you want to go into exposures?
Let's go back to the lineups because, we're on the lineups page right now, but we took note of that there was the one naked Anthony Richardson lineup. Also, something that I like a lot is a lot of Penix lineups on the front page as well. Great matchup against the New York Giants. You and I talked about him when we were doing the single lineup sim show on Wednesday, where some people in the chat seemed to be confident whether he was good or bad, which I don't know how anybody feels great about whether Michael Penix is good or bad. He's played like a dozen snaps or something like that this year. But he's stepping into a really high upside matchup against the Giants. He's incredibly cheap at $4,500 on DraftKings. If he is going to be good for the remainder of the season, there's going to be no better chance for him to succeed than this first matchup against the Giants. I think the Falcons carefully selected this to be his first game. If they were playing like the Steelers this week. I don't think Penix is making his first NFL start. So there's a wide range of outcomes here with him. And I think there's reason to also take some shots on the Giants defense, because who knows, maybe Penix will end up being terrible, but he's got good skill position players around him. He's playing against a team that is absolutely tanking, terrible defense. So I love the upside on Penix at $4,500.
Okay. If he ends up getting steamed and is chalk, I will say there might not be a player that I want less than Michael Penix.
How chalky would he have to be for you to not want him?
Yeah, right. With 11 games, it's hard to get super chalky. But let's say like you look at quarterback ownership, and right, I think we'll see ownership kind of refined throughout the week here. If he's like the highest owned quarterback, which means to me that you're going to see a lot of ownership coming into some of these pass catchers, then I would be comfortable looking elsewhere. I'd also just I think there's another way that this could play out. You have Penix could be good in this matchup. Penix could be really bad, or they could use him conservatively and just give Bijan 25 carries again. Like, I think that's entirely in play here. Like, you talk range of outcomes. The possibility that their clear best, most talented and effective player in Bijan Robinson happens to have 80% of snaps again and 25 plus total touches, and they just crush a New York Giants team that lost their best defender 2 weeks ago. I think that's another very realistic possibility in a spot like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could definitely be up late and then just grind the ball out with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson in the fourth quarter. But I'm also kind of skeptical that Penix gets to be like 20% owned or anything that I'd find to be an issue. We've got him right around 10% at the moment, on 9% the actual ownership, which I don't have any issue with that kind of number.
Me neither. But like right now I have 28% or something in my sim run. That seems like a ton to me. We'll see though. We'll see how it comes in. Let's talk about, let's look at some exposures here. We could start off with quarterback and see where we're at. I assume that Penix will be the number one. Yeah. +1, 7%. So that's like 25% Penix here. Click out of stack exposures for a second. Just go to quarterbacks, Jacob. Yeah, like look at that compared to him and Anthony Richardson are what my week is dependent on. That there is not much scarier than that.
They're so cheap though that like you can see quarterbacks at 5,400 or 4,500 being winning lineups with 12 or 13 fantasy points. It's such a low price tag for a quarterback, especially the Penix one. And then Anthony Richardson too, with his rushing upside. He's been super hot and cold throwing the football. But with that said, you're always going to get some amount of rushing ability out of him. If you look at his last handful of games now, 7 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown, 9 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown, 10 carries for 61 yards, 10 carries for 32 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of these games, he doesn't even have to do anything throwing the football, and he's kind of already there. So it makes sense that we're seeing a handful of naked Anthony Richardson lineups. Actually, Jacob, can you click on stack exposures one more time? So we have 18% total of Anthony Richardson. And let's see. So, yeah, about half of the lineups are naked. And then you've got 6% QB +1, 4% QB +2. So, yeah, so you're going to have 8% of our top lineups here naked Anthony Richardson.
They're cheap. By the way, I reserve the right to go back on what I'm saying right here if he tends to develop over the years, or, you probably need to be next year. But Anthony Richardson stinks. Like, that dude stinks. And if he didn't have the rushing upside, it would be a real problem. I still think he's super viable. Tennessee, is not very good. They got nothing to play for. But I still think that defense is better than they're giving credit for. I don't look at last week's game against Cincinnati, and I'm pretty sure didn't the Bengals have like 2 pick sixes or something, or 2 defensive they did something. They had 1 defensive touchdown in that game. They put up a lot of points, but that's also Joe Burrow. Either way, I guess what I'm getting at is, what about the fact that you've got a slate like this, and you're getting that much Penix, you're getting that much, never mind. You're getting that much Richardson, and you still have some cheap guys down there that are pretty much, I mean, Caleb Williams to me looks good in this spot against a super banged up Detroit team. He's going to be, if you go to projections, Jacob, for a second, if you go to projections, go to quarterbacks and filter by ownership.
He's the second most popular QB on the slate.
Okay, there you go. And he should be. He should be. Rodgers at 5%. What is Mac Jones ownership? I mean, Mac Jones ownership is probably like 1%. Yeah, 2%. Interesting. All right. I guess it's just a preference thing here, but when it comes to cheap quarterbacks like this, are you okay just planting your flag on one of them or two of them for getting like 50 combined percent?
Yeah, I'm also interested. I'm going to pull up, we don't look at this all that often on this show, but I'm going to pull up the top stacks tool as well and just see points per dollar, which stacks are expected to be the top ones this weekend. And yeah, nothing overwhelming towards the top, and this is taking into account the average price of all the skill position players. So the quarterback, running backs, starting wide receivers as well. And actually the one that looks like is going maybe a little bit under-owned here is the Cincinnati Bengals against Cleveland. We've got them with the top value odds overall. And then the Falcons, Michael Penix taking on the Giants. They are third, Rams being second here. And then, not far behind also is the Bears.
Okay. Wait, what are the Bears? Fourth?
Fifth.
That's not bad at that price.
Top five, it's Bengals 1, Rams 2, Falcons 3, Cardinals 4, Bears 5.
And all of those Bears pass catchers are cheap this week.
Yeah.
I also like DeAndre Swift too, and I don't think he's going to be very popular at all. I assume that Roschon Johnson ends up playing. I don't know, dealing with the concussion. He was a full participant, so we'll see. But even so, DeAndre Swift in that spot actually looks pretty good. What are we getting? Go back to exposures and quarterbacks, Jacob. I assume that we're getting some Matthew Stafford. Yeah, click out of stacks. It's just easier to see it this way. Murray 11% against Carolina. That makes sense. Caleb 8%. Purdy 7% against Miami. Interesting. Trent Williams doesn't look like he's coming back this year for what it's worth. Mason Rudolph.
Like that one would be more of a pass for me. I mean, it looks like we have 4% of them, so it's not the end of the world, but I don't see the same upside in Mason Rudolph and Dorian Thompson-Robinson as there is in guys like Anthony Richardson or Michael Penix.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I will say I'd still rather, and this isn't like, if I get 10% Mac Jones, 5% even, I'd feel fine with it. I'd still rather have Mac Jones over Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Mason Rudolph. That's my personal way of looking at it. DTR is awful. I know it's a really good matchup, but this guy, I'm not sure that the matchup is enough for him.
Are you surprised that the Browns are starting him over Jameis Winston?
No, I said this would happen. Everyone would be real stoked on Jameis in that Steelers game with the snow, and they'd love these eccentricities and the antics and everything. And then the moment he turns back into Jameis Winston, everyone's like, all right, it was fun while it lasted. But like now we know why you're not a starter in this league. No, I'm not shocked. What's it matter?
He's just so clearly better than Dorian Thompson-Robinson to me.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They don't have anything to play for. You get to evaluate DTR a little bit longer, maybe a couple. You know exactly what you have in Jameis Winston. You have, I mean, he's kind of the ultimate charlatan of the NFL at no fault of his own. Like he'll go out there and he'll win games in spectacular fashion, and then he'll just be so bad that you can't believe he ever won a game before. That's what he is, you know?
And they're talking about bringing Deshaun Watson back for next year too. I don't know. This team's a mess.
They're in trouble, man. They put themselves in a tough spot. They really have. And just as Jerry Jeudy starts to erupt, But like Jerry Judy's value as a result, to me, goes down significantly without Jameis starting.
Yeah, and he's been great as of late from a fantasy perspective, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, because of Jameis. Don't get me wrong, Jameis can still make his pass catchers look sick. Like Njoku, 15 targets a game, that'll play. Yeah, I don't know. Any other quarterbacks here that stand out?
Let's see. Looking through these guys, just because he's at the top of the top stacks, and also he's just been ridiculous from a fantasy perspective as of late. Joe Burrow at $7,500. Gonna have to see what ends up happening with T. Higgins and some of the pass catchers there, because I mean this team is really running out of things to play for. At least for now, not eliminated from the playoffs. They're very, very unlikely to make it, especially with the Chargers winning last night.
No, Chargers winning helped them. They needed the Chargers to win.
No, because if the Broncos would have won, they would have only been one game back.
No, no, because they need the Broncos to lose out.
But if the Chargers would have lost out, they would have also passed the Chargers.
They're sick.
The Broncos had a better record than the Chargers going into last night. Now they have the same record.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But the Bengals face the Broncos next week. So they face the Broncos next week. And then I forget who they closed the season out against. But they need the Colts to lose one game. They need Miami to lose one game. They need to win out, and they need the Broncos to lose out. I agree. Narrow path. But they're playing, man. There's no doubt they're going to try and win and try and make. There's no doubt that at least for one more week, they're going to try and make it happen. 2 more weeks because the Broncos lost.
Yeah, I'm still not sure with T. Higgins, though. I think that the team is still going to be going, in terms of like Joe Burrow and in terms of Jamar Chase. T. Higgins made it pretty clear the entire year, though, that he is playing for a contract next year. And he has not played this year when he's not been 100%, and he's not been practicing this week. He wasn't even at practice yesterday.
Yeah, but he's returning today. He's playing, dude. He's playing. He's going to play every snap. You can't not play these guys until you're eliminated.
I mean, they've already sat T. Higgins how many games this year? 3, 4?
Yeah, but I'm saying like he played 87% of snaps last week. Whatever. It's not important. It's not important. I get what you're saying. If these guys are all playing, Joe Burrow might be. What do you think that would be a contrarian stack against in this spot?
Yeah, and especially because when Joe Burrow has big games, which happens every single week now, just about, it's like there's a wide array of guys who get targets. It's Jamar Chase, it's T. Higgins. That's where the production goes. Yeah, you'll have the off guy who has a catch here or there. That's what I like when they have Chase. And even though these guys are both fairly expensive now, Higgins at $6,800, you got Jamar Chase at $8,500. If Joe Burrow does his normal thing and throws for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns, Jamar Chase and or T. Higgins are both having big games.
Yeah, absolutely. They at that rate they have to, unless it's all Chase Brown just catching out of the backfield. Tua Tagovailoa to me is interesting just because, like, I think San Fran is the type of team that is kind of given up at this point, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But they've got some injuries, and Miami's not eliminated yet either. So Miami, big spot here at home. I could see them putting up a big game. Let's take a look at wide running backs. My guess is there we go. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a lot of Jerome Ford. Jahmyr Gibbs to me is the guy that it's hard to get away from this week. I mean, Gibbs with David Montgomery done for the season. Charbonnet, that is under the assumption, right, that Kenneth Walker doesn't play and Zach Charbonnet does play. I don't know. I think he'll probably play. What do you think happens there?
Based on the report we had yesterday, I think Kenneth Walker. Earlier in the week, I was unsure, but I thought it was like a little bit more likely that we were going to see Kenneth Walker play. Now I'm like 90% confident Kenneth Walker's playing.
He's going to play. So we'll have to make some adjustments here. That'll drop Charbonnet down. I wonder who it brings up though. maybe Patrick Taylor gets brought up. I bet it does. I bet it brings Patrick Taylor up a little bit, Greg, with Isaac Guerrero expected to miss that game. It could bring DeAndre Swift up. I actually don't hate that range. I think Taylor's fine. I think Swift is totally fine. Chuba Hubbard at 6,800. All of these guys I'm looking at right here look perfectly fine to me, other than Charbonnet, of course, given the Walker developments. There is one now. There's no chance in hell that I want 60% Jerome Ford.
Yeah, I assume that more options or different options will be available to us at running back. Actually, I agree with you. I don't want 60% of Jerome Ford. I'm just trying to figure out who the cheap alternative is if there isn't going to be Zach Charbonnet. And like, I guess Patrick Taylor just by default will end up getting to a lot. Do you think he plays the same workload that we've seen from every other starting 49ers running back this year, though?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, maybe not entirely, but they're going to, okay. So the guys that they've had, rotating in and out of the practice squad, you've had Keyshawn Vaughn. There was another, I can't remember. I thought there was one more. Maybe not. I thought
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The guy who was drafted by the Jets last year.
Abanaconda. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, Israel Abanaconda. Good call. Yep, that was the other one. So my guess is they just have those guys active because Vaughn and Taylor and Guerrero were active. So it'll probably be Guerrero, Vaughn, and Abanaconda. But yeah, you know what? I think Patrick Taylor probably will. And the reason for that is that if you looked at the game 2 weeks ago when Guerrero went down, Patrick Taylor saw 7 for 25 and basically got all of that work after Guerrero went down in the game. So, yeah, I think they probably just feed him.
It's all we've ever seen them do from a starting running back.
Exactly.
We've never seen them this thin before. So does that script change when they're down to their fourth running back? It didn't change. It didn't change when they're on their backup running back. It didn't change when they're down to their third string running. Actually, Nick saw that because they also had Elijah Mitchell got hurt. So it didn't change when they're down to the third string running back. Didn't change when they were down to their fourth string running back. Doesn't change when they're down to their fifth string running back.
It's a great question. It's a good question. I would think maybe, but also Patrick Taylor's still viable because running backs in that offense are just productive. They're just productive. I know Guerrero wasn't great in that game against the Rams, but literally no one in that game was good. Nobody in that game was any good. And he still saw 20 touches. Taylor's in play. I'll tell you though now, Greg, I think though that if everything were the way it was, obviously remove Charbonnet and things get, the chairs get moved around a little bit. I think I would probably still want to get to some more DeAndre Swift and 4%. Same exact price as Jerome Ford, basically the same price as Patrick Taylor, Alexander Madison, those type of guys. He's coming off a game where they got blown out. He still saw 19 carries in that game in a blowout. And now you are home, your home dogs, understandably. But if you go pull up, for those of you guys who think I'm being dramatic here, and Swift had 20 touches last game, go pull up the depth chart for the Detroit Lions. There's more red than non-red on this team to signify IR or out or doubtful or questionable. This team is so banged up that eventually it's just going to catch up to them.
Yeah, and particularly on the defense side, obviously, the offense is still going to be elite, which almost makes it better for opposing offenses because what's going to end up happening is the Lions are going to score a lot of points and probably score a lot of points fairly quickly. A lot of these games are just going to turn into really high-paced shootouts.
Big time. Yeah, big time. Michael Clifford said, y'all just going to ignore Jones? Good for me. Which Jones?
I assume he means Aaron Jones?
I'm wondering if he's talking about Aaron Jones or maybe Velus Jones Jr. That could be it. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Which Jones are we talking about?
It has to be Aaron Jones. Has to be.
Yeah, because you can't be talking about Mac Jones because I already mentioned Mac Jones a bunch. Aaron Jones, yeah, I'm good. I mean, look, you won't find a bigger Aaron Jones fan than myself, but I think the position's just loaded today. if it's for me, if it's Aaron Jones or Chuba Hubbard, I have to go Chuba Hubbard. I have to. Aaron Jones he's $1,000 cheaper than Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is just far and away the better option. I'm a big Aaron Jones guy, but the fact that you had Cam Akers still last game getting a touchdown, I'd mentioned they weren't using him there. They did. And 10 carries. Jones is fine, but I don't see how I prioritize him at all this week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what's his price point again?
6,400.
64. All right. So it's the other guys who are priced around and basically the same point as you, but so many of these guys project really, really well who are just slightly more expensive than him. Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, it's $1,000, but there's no David Montgomery there, and probably no David Montgomery for
like Gibbs should be $8,400.
Yeah, Gibbs should maybe be the most expensive running back on the slate considering the current situation.
I agree. Right. So it's less about the price and what you're getting for those prices. I mean, Bijan at 81 even, I think is a fantastic play against the Giants. Kyron Williams against the Jets, James Conner against Carolina, James Cook against New England. I don't love that just because the workload scares me a little bit, but the guy does have a monster ceiling. You go down the list. Chuba is playing literally 97% of snaps per game. Makes it kind of tough. And then you got those cheap guys down there as well. Swift, Ford, and a couple more. Taylor. Yeah, that's tough. Anybody you're getting too much of that you'd like to not get as much of, or anyone you're not getting enough of, like I mentioned, Swift is someone I probably bump up a little bit. I'd probably bump up James Conner a little. I think that's a really good spot for him. But you can't play a lot of everybody.
Yeah, this is going to be a week where I think I'm going to be pretty spread out at running back. Just out of interest, I ran another sim here and took Zach Charbonnet out just to see what my exposures would look like if Charbonnet wasn't in the mix. And crap, I pulled up the wrong pool here. So, all right, I'm going to have to rerun it again anyway. But anyway, it's going to force me to a little bit more Jerome Ford, which I don't really love. But I mean, Charbonnet I don't think is going to be a realistic option for this week. But I think what's going to end up happening is I don't think I'm going to have any running back in more than like 35% of lineups, which almost never happens.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'd be okay with that actually, because I love the amount of backs on this slate. Be a little bit tougher when you're talking single entry stuff, but I'm okay with it. I really am. Plus, not to say that this should this should dictate what we do. How many times have the chalk running backs, the discount or mid-range chalk running backs, just crushed people this season, man? It's happened a lot. Chase Brown's been the only one that when he was chalk and cheap that was good, reliably good every single week. Feels like every other time these guys sucked. Even Chuba last week was terrible. But I'd go back to the well there 1,000 times over.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I feel like there's been a lot of good chalk running backs this year. I'm just trying to remember. In general, Chuba Hubbard had been good up until last week as chalk. Yeah, Chase Brown has just incrementally seen his price tag gone up, and he's been pretty popular along the way. Dowdle's been another one who's been good as chalk lately.
Yeah, he was okay as chalk, right?
Yeah,
not really. I guess he was chalk last week, and didn't he stink?
He had 150 rushing yards.
Did he?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't stink. Maybe I'm thinking of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so I think
maybe it didn't matter because all my lineups had Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. We've had 3 weeks in a row with Rico Dowdle being popular on different kinds of slates. He had 149 rushing yards, 131 rushing yards, and 112 rushing yards in those 3 games.
He's been good. Mike McCarthy wasn't lying when he said he was going to start giving that guy real work. Tyrone Tracy's interesting too. If Penix is bad, then Tyrone Tracy could finally get. He's been scripted out of every game lately. That's why Tracy's been bad. He hasn't even been inefficient. So if you're looking for something different there, it's an interesting one. All right, let's talk wide receivers. Hey, Greg, guess what? We got a promo going on, huh?
We do have a promo going on. We've got our NFL Max package. If you guys want to get access to it, not just for this weekend, not just for the next month, But for the rest of the season, we've got it discounted to $179. So if you guys might be thinking, well, $179, how much of a discount is it? So this is almost 2 full months of our NFL Max package. Usually it's $200 per month for this, but it's less than that. And this is for the entirety of the season. So about 2 full months. So discounted more than 50%. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've got the holidays next week. So that's something that you guys treat yourself, get yourselves a gift. But also, we had somebody win $1 million using our tools over the weekend. Aaron Costa, especially if you guys play a lot of NBA DFS, you always see Aaron Costa at the top of the standings with the Stokastic avatar. And according to him, he pulled the lineup that he played and won the $1 million with last week. No adjustment for him, just pulled it right out of the Sims tool. And because he had that win, if you guys want to sign up for our Sims Max package, you get access the rest of the football season, all the way through the Super Bowl. Link is down below in the YouTube description box. Check out with the promo code CELEBRATE.
Yeah, we have football in for 8 of the next 11 days. 8 of the next 11 days. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Again, 8 of the next 11 days. That's phenomenal, man. And then you've got the final slate. I love playing. That's the one slate of the year where I focus a lot of my attention on the early slate because there's so many games, right? Like you could, if you wanted, you could split it up. Those like 15, 16 game slates are tough. The Sims accounts, we have every single contest you want. Even if you're like, I want to play the Eagles Commanders showdown slate, you can run the Sims for that, for any of them. But more than anything, like you just said, Aaron pulled it straight from the Sims. Well, that means 3 Milli Maker winners we're using with Stokastic tools just in the last 2 months. If you guys wanted to check it out, 179. Might sound like sticker shock until you go, oh, it's usually 200 for 1 month, and I'm getting the entirety of the season through the Super Bowl for less than it would be for 1 month. It's awesome. Link down there. That's Sims Max, by the way. Lets you sim up to 10,000 lineups, really take your game to the next level, obviously. And if you say, hey, listen, I'm not there yet. I'm still working with a budget, playing on a budget. No big deal. Check the second link out in the description. It says join any sportsbook, gets Stokastic Sims free. All that means is you click that link and click claim offer on any of those sports books. If you're in a non-legal betting state, click claim offer on any of the pick'em sites. Deposit like $5 or $10 is the minimum on all of those. Get your bonus bets, get your deposit bonus. So you've already made back everything times 10 on that with these sports books. And then place a bet. The moment you got to click claim offer, or we can't track you. After you place that bet and it settles, take a screenshot of the settled bet and the screenshot of your welcome email, send it over to us at support@stokastic.com and just let us know what you want, what sport. That you're getting any full month of the core package, $99 value, which includes the Sims. The only difference between that and Max is you can sim up to 10,000 with Max, 1,000 with the core, but you're getting single lineup sim, boom, bust, top stack, all of our tools. And if you were to sign up on 4 sports books or 4 pick'em sites, that's 4 months of whatever sport you want. Mix and match, play it how you please. And that's another way to get in on the action. We have a million different ways to get the tools and try them out because we know you're going to love them and you're going to want to stick around. It's our way of saying try these because you're going to love them and they're going to make you a better player. Anyway, links to all those down in the description. Keith Jackson, love you guys. Took down a winner take all for NHL last night. Nice, dude. Shout out to the NHL team. That's not me.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Those winner take all contests are insane. Have you ever looked at those?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there was one that had a bunch of overlay for NBA. It was the first time I'd ever played one of those before, but I didn't realize how big they are. Like there's contests. It's like 5,000 people in the winner take all. That's got to be coming in second to that has got to be the nut low.
Oh my God. But it'd be cool for if you're playing just like for fun and you were doing like a $2 winner take all or something with 5,000 people.
Yeah. It's so difficult to
of course. Yeah,
it's honestly easier to win the 100K in the $15 150 max on PK.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Wide receivers, this should be interesting. Wow, man, I did not expect that much exposure to Puka Nacua. Looks like mine is a lot different. Oh, there he is. Never mind.
Slow rolled us.
Yeah, the slow reveal. I was looking at mine and I was like, wait, do we not have any in this run? Yeah, I love Neighbors here. I think he's underpriced. I may have given up on Ridley, but we can talk about that, Greg. There's a few spots I really like. There's a few spots I'm definitely bringing up, though, that I'm going to boost.
I'm curious. I'm going to try to guess. I'm going to try to guess what it is you're looking to boost. So I'm going to assume it's somebody that just common sense, somebody that you're not getting a ton of exposure to.
Yeah, let's just say sub 10%.
All right. Keenan Allen?
No, but I definitely would consider that against against Detroit.
Brian Thomas?
Yes.
Just because you like Mac Jones, so it makes sense.
It's not even that I like Mac Jones. It's that Brian Thomas' target share has been insane. The guy's really good, and Mac Jones and him have clearly developed a connection recently. The Raiders have no pass rush with Max Crosby out, unless it's Kirk Cousins, who just can't move. Yeah, I just think Brian Thomas at 6,300 is a fantastic play this week.
Anybody else that you have in mind? If you do, I'll try to keep guessing.
Let me see. Yeah, but you're not going to guess him.
All right. So I'll tell you one that I've started to get attached to as a possible leverage play. Cooper Kupp. The field is going to be all over Puka Nacua. He's clearly become the number one guy for the Rams. But I don't know. You get Cooper Kupp for a third of the ownership of Puka Nacua and also $1,500 cheaper. Obviously, if it's a big Cooper Kupp game, that is going to come at the expense of Puka Nacua. That looks like a pretty good leverage option to me.
I actually kind of love that, especially when it's a guy coming off a 0 reception game. I really like that. And I'm not a narrative guy, but if there is one thing that we've definitively seen in football is when a kind of star player, Greg, gets no work, the next game, there's a real good possibility that they can have a really big game. Like teams will actually try and get them the ball. We saw it with A.J. Brown, a little bit of squeaky wheel action there. They come out next game, feed him. We saw it with Cortland Sutton, 0 target, 0 reception game in week 7 against the Saints, comes out, has a 11 target game the next time out. This actually is one of the spots where I'm willing to go, all right, I'll factor that in a little bit.
2 players that I think that plays a role for this week. It's Cooper Kupp number 1 by a mile. Number 2, though, to me is Amari Cooper, just because his work is so bizarre to me the last couple of weeks.
It's all over the place. Yeah.
It's how do you go from 14 targets to 0? It's such an insane spread. If I just told you Amari Cooper averaged 7 targets over the last 2 weeks, you'd be like, that makes sense. He's starting to get ramped up in the Bills offense.
Yeah.
But because he went from 14 targets to 0 targets, people are going to just be like, can't play Amari Cooper, not involved in the offense. You just flip those games. 2 weeks ago, he has 0 targets, and last week he has 14 targets. And I think everybody's like, oh my God, like look at all this work that Amari Cooper's getting as of late.
I'm a little bit less I'm more with you on Amari or with Cooper Kupp than Amari Cooper. Reason for that is because for Amari Cooper to have that type, it's like Coleman's back, Kincaid is back, Shakir is out there. There's so many mouths to feed, plus Josh Allen has the rushing upside. With Cooper Kupp, it's like if it's not going to Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford's clearly not running it, there's only one other guy in the passing game that it's going to go to. So I think there's a clearer path for Cooper Kupp, and that's what I kind of like about that spot this week.
Yeah, that's going to be, I don't know how, and we'll have to see where the dust ends up settling come Sunday, but my intuition is that when I make adjustments, I'm going to be doing an ROI downgrade to Puka Nacua up to Cooper Kupp and just make that a leverage spot for myself.
Sure. Would you try and get equal amounts of them, or would you try and get, you know what I mean? Or would you try and get over on Cooper Kupp? Over Nacua for leverage. Because I think even getting equal parts of them might still provide you some leverage, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there will be often times where it's like I have something like, just making up numbers here, but maybe I would have like 12% of Puka Nacua and 10% of Cooper Kupp. And it's like, well, I have about half the field on Nacua, but I'm double the field on Cooper Kupp. So I'd still consider myself like more invested in Kupp in that situation. It's going to depend too on what kind of value opens up. If we end up getting almost no additional value at running back, maybe the 49ers come out and say running back by committee, there's not going to be a workhorse back, I'm going to have to prioritize going cheaper at wide receiver. And in that scenario, I would probably have more exposure to Cooper Kupp than Puka Nacua.
I could see that. I got one more guy for you. Oh, by the way, guys, for those of you wondering how to get free months of everything, bronze, silver, gold, get the Stokastic ring and that beautiful spinning display case engraved with your big win to commemorate that. Stokastic.com/HOF. For those of you who haven't done it yet, that dog picture, that dog avatar, that can wait. That can wait because that ain't making you extra money. You may look at it and go, oh, that's cute. But, when other people see our kids or our dogs or our pets and stuff, they feign interest. They don't really care. I say it about myself too. I don't really care. You could show me. I say, oh, cute. If I show some, I don't even show people anymore because I just know they're going to say, oh, how adorable. They don't really care. I said, let's talk about something else. The Stokastic avatar is the way to go because it's going to actually make you money on top of making money. Stokastic.com/HOF. Check it out, baby. Download one, upload wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Even if it's a 10-cent entry, doesn't matter. You just can't shop with more than 2 people. And hit us up on Twitter at StokasticHOF with your wins. Stokastic.com/HOF. Check it out, man. Make it worthwhile. All right, I'm going to give you one more guy. Adam Thielen. I think you get a bit of a bounce back for the Panthers. Yet last week was your prototypical letdown spot. This team's a favorite for the first time since the Jimmy Carter administration. Of course, they're going to let us down. Now, he's 5,600. This guy is still clearly involved. Like, do you remember how good he was with Bryce Young last year at the beginning of the season? He's still super involved. Xavier Legette isn't going to play. Thielen played 85% of snaps last week. I know you have your David Moores and yes, your Jalen Coker's coming off a big game with that 80-yard play, but I can't get away from thinking, and Jalen Coker's questionable as well. I still can't get away from thinking that Adam Thielen at 5,600 is still the clear alpha in this passing game, and it's a good matchup against that Cardinals secondary.
He had 7 targets last week.
Right, and what did he have the week before? Like 10 again?
The last 3 weeks, 7 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets. Bryce Young clearly improving as well. There's going to be inconsistencies there, but clearly Adam Thielen has been the guy in the offense. And then also another bit of a leverage point here. It looks like Jalen Coker is going to be somewhat popular as a value option. If Adam Thielen is the guy again, it's like the inverse of Cooper Kupp in terms of Kupp is the cheaper priced leverage option. Adam Thielen, the more expensive price leverage option, but it's not even like he's all that expensive. Like you mentioned, you got a sub 6K price tag on Adam Thielen. I don't have any issue with that at all. And also going back to last year to what you had brought up, it's if you remember the old DraftKings Rainmakers, they used to have superstar designations for players. And it was like the top 6 players at each position had a superstar designation. You can only play 1 superstar per lineup. They had to change Adam Thielen to a superstar last year because of how well he started the year. Made him unplayable for the rest of the year because he had a drop off after that. But yeah, he was like the 2nd or 3rd best fantasy wide receiver halfway through the season last year.
I know. He was in the winning Millie lineup 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And his price wasn't going up, so he was super popular every week, and then all of a sudden he just fell off a cliff.
So I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot here. Like there's a lot of really good options that you're if you wanted to get leverage over some of these can you scroll to the top, Jacob? Over some of the really popular plays, like sort by pool ownership, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess nobody's crazy popular. But I just still think there's a million different ways to go at wide receiver.
Yeah. And I mean, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, they're both comparably popular, 18.5% and 14.5%. Puka Nacua Nacua, here's what this indicates to me. He's the pay up option the field most wants to be getting to. How owned he is going to be dependent on how much value there is. So the more value that opens up at running back, the more popular Puka Nacua is. And that would just make Cooper Kupp more and more viable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like your call there on Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp and then Thielen, like I said, 5,600. would another 10 target game surprise you at all for him there?
No, not at all. That was what he was
2
doing.
straight weeks.
Yeah, most of the start of last year with Bryce Young quarterback, that's what his work was looking like. And then the same the last few weeks. That's generally what it's been like.
Yep, absolutely. Lucas, do you guys prefer Keenan or DJ? I like both of them this week, honestly. The Sims like DJ Moore, and I get that because DJ Moore is down to $5,700. So, I probably would lean him at that price point. But Keenan's been good, man, and Keenan's been a big target inside the red zone as well. I like both of those guys this week.
Yeah, I think both of them look solid. If the slate was locking right now, I'd probably be overweight to both of them.
Same. I know I would be, actually. All right, let's take a look at tight ends before we get out of here. This is a really fun slate this week. We have no limitations for. Oh, guess what Trey McBride's touchdown prop is this week? This is so ridiculous.
I'm sure it's something like, I don't know, plus 150, plus 200.
Exactly. So it's last I looked yesterday, it was plus 125. So mind you, the more he doesn't score, the shorter the odds get. On Caesars right now, it's plus 110. And on ESPN, plus 110 on McBride to score a touchdown. It's crazy. And I had a anytime touchdown round robin last week, Greg, for the afternoon games. I threw it in the Discord. We hit 3 of the first 4 in the first quarter of all of their games. And then McBride got tackled at the 1 yard line. And of course I added him to it because I was with you that he was going to score, but he didn't. He got tackled at the 1. It was a massive, massive, massive odds parlay or round robin. And Trey McBride did me dirty. Now I can't even bet his touchdown. I'm not betting him at plus 110. It's crazy. And he will score. He will score now that all of the value has been squeezed from that.
Yeah, for sure. He looks great for DFS. And the touchdowns are just, it's more fluky than anything because he gets red zone work. He gets a shit ton of targets. He gets a lot of yards. He just hasn't fallen into the end zone this year. It's going to end up happening, probably more likely than not. It does end up happening this week against the Panthers. And another one of these, now I brought it up last week too. My hot take of the week was that Trey McBride would score a touchdown. Didn't end up happening. He had a good fantasy game, so whatever.
He got tackled at the 1.
But he did get tackled at the 1. But I do think that the Cardinals in some of these easy matchups, they want to get him this touchdown. If they could choose who scores a touchdown for them, they would choose McBride, so the story goes away.
Well, now Kyler Murray's saying he's going to get him in the end zone.
I tend to believe him, if possible. And this is a matchup where you could kind of choose those things at times.
Cardinals, Kyler Murray, vows Trey McBride TD catch coming soon as star tight end looks to end historic drought. Fucking crazy, dude. He has, what does he have now? 90 catches or something?
87.
89.
89.
89. He has 89 receptions. He's my favorite tight end this week, and it has nothing to do with the narrative anyway. He's just so good. I love Trey McBride. I'm happy to be getting to a good amount of him. That might be a little bit extreme. That much probably is, but Greg, I got to be out by 11, but I'll say this much to you. I think we're actually making good time. We are not getting a lot of not nearly as many, just eyeballing this exposure, not as many 2 tight end lineups as we have in the past at all.
No, this is doing quick math. Yeah, we've only got about 15 to 20% of our lineups have double tight ends.
I like Brenton Strange down there, 7% of him. He's coming off a 12 target, 11 reception game. It's one of the reasons I think Mac Jones is at the very least interesting because you have Brian Thomas and Brenton Strange and everybody else is hurt. Hunter Henry, Hawkinson, fine. Ruckert, that's an interesting one. That scares me. I'm not a big fan of that. Aaron Rodgers has his guys and he's locking on to Adams and Wilson. Kittle.
There's this weird revisionist history that Aaron Rodgers has been really good this year. I don't know why this has become a thing online, but all of a sudden there's this like, I hope the Jets bring back Aaron Rodgers and there's all this hype for it again. If I could bet the Jets at plus money to miss the playoffs again, I would be so thrilled with that. And for whatever reason, there's this narrative. People now think Rodgers has been really good this season. Maybe that's driving some of the Ruckert ownership with Tyler Conklin out, but I'm with you. I would not want to play a ton of Jeremy Ruckert.
So I think the narrative's twofold. I think the narrative is that one group is saying that Rodgers has really been good, and then there's also revisionist history that Rodgers has been really bad. He hasn't. He's been average.
He's been fine. Bad relative to expectations.
Okay, sure, yes, but also and the weapons he has. But another thing too, I can't help but look at this team and go, because everyone's like, man, you're going to be worse than the team last year. Last year, the defense was good. I don't understand what's happened to the defense this year. Their defense has fallen apart, man. Like in games where you score 26 points last year, you're winning all of them if you're the Jets, right? They lost with 27 and 26 points over the two of the last 4 weeks. That to me is crazier than anything else. No, Rodgers hasn't been good. He also hasn't been nearly as terrible as everyone makes him out to be. And I'm telling you, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, I still think he's been below average as a quarterback this year, but it's not what people were expecting out of him. I mean, the betting lines were crazy to me coming into the year. The Jets had an over-under of 9.5 wins. It was juiced towards the over. They were like minus 200 to make the playoffs or something like that. He's a guy in his 40s who tore his Achilles last year.
Yeah. No, he's not. But there's people, that's the thing though. There's people who love Rodgers. There's people who hate Rodgers. I personally couldn't care. So if you're unable to look at things, objectively, you're just going to, it's all
part of it too is because Aaron Rodgers went on his thing. He said the only way you could think he's been, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he thinks the only reason he's being criticized is because of off the field things. Like, no, the team also sucks. If the team was winning, people wouldn't be saying like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is no good."
Of course, yeah. If they were 10-4 instead, there'd be a whole different perception surrounding Aaron Rodgers. It just so happens they're not, and that's not great for him. But anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's going to do it. If you guys want to check out our NFL promo, it is only going to be running until next week for the holidays. So Take advantage of it now.
Absolutely. And we got 50% off Portfolio EV. I had a nice little plus 800 night last night, Greg. Portfolio EV. You've been absolutely crushing in the bankroll challenge. It's been a hell of a journey, man. Links down there. If you use Gift EV at checkout, Gift EV, all one word, GIFT EV, that gets you 50% off your first month, which you will, if you use the tool right, you're just going to make it back very quickly. Anyway, links to everything in the description. If you guys ever have questions, Greg and I are always happy to help, man. Both of our DMs are open on Twitter, and over on Discord, you can jump into there as well. Appreciate you hanging out. As always, we will see you back here for the next one. Peace.